And now we're honored in the studio to have Carmen, well, actually the lead soprano in Carmen, Carla Dirlikov. Welcome.
Thank you
for joining us here. I like your jacket. Did you just buy it for this production, Chinese production, your Chinese tour?
I did. Well, I bought several things while I was here, and I've just fallen in love with Chinese textiles and Chinese cultural pieces, obviously the art and the cuisine and so many things about China, but these few pieces that I can take back with me and share with my friends and family, they're going to be very special.
Well, I can tell you, it came in the right time, because remember yesterday, it was the Lantern Festival.
Yes.
That's like the most important festival after the Spring Festival, the first one. And you had that final show of Carmen. That last night was the last one of this tour.
Yes, that's right.
How was it received?
It was wonderful last night. It was very special to me, actually, because the audience was so warm. They gave us so many applause and just so much energy and affection that it's contagious as a performer. When you feel that from the audience, you want to do even better. So I think all of us on stage really wanted to do our best to give something very special to the Chinese audience.
How different does it feel to be able to perform Carmen, say, on the Chinese stage?
Well, actually, you know, the music is the same and the role is the same. So it's interesting because you're taking the same story but bringing it perhaps to a new place. What's very special is working with new colleagues. In this case, you know, my colleagues were Chinese, and our director who took charge of the Zambello revival was a Chinese director and also the maestro. So I was very honored to be the only international among such a talented cast of Chinese members, and not only to get to know them artistically, but to get to know them as people, and now to call them friends. I'm very honored.
So your Chinese colleagues, all these Chinese musicians you worked with, they impressed you a lot?
Very much so, very much so. You know, I can imagine how difficult it is just to overcome the language barrier to sing in French. You know, for me, it's almost impossible to understand the Chinese words, and for them to overcome this and to actually tell a story in French, which is just one of the many things that we have to do as performers. I was especially impressed by the voices, just the raw talent. My colleague that I worked the closest with, Mario, who sang Don Jose, just an outstanding, incredible voice, one that certainly will merit the biggest stages of the world.
What about Carmen itself? I mean, Carmen is the opera production that everyone might dream of. We have a similar production in China. It's called White-Haired Girl, and sometimes in media reports we'll see this is the first generation soprano, this is second generation, third, fourth generation. How does it feel for you to be able to perform Carmen in this production? It's a production of a history of over 100 years. How does it feel?
It's an honor, really. You know, my mother is Mexican, and I grew up listening to Carmen since I was about 3 or 4 years old. And actually, when I was a child, my grandfather, my Mexican grandfather, gave my brothers and I a set of sort of Carmen costumes. I had the castañettes and the flamenco skirt, and I dressed up my youngest brother as the bull and my other brother as the torero. And so we would play Carmen, and I would sing, and you know, I grew up with it. And I never dreamed in my wildest dreams that I would be on an international stage such as the NCPA, you know, someday singing this iconic role. But in a lot of ways, I feel that it's very close to my heart as a Latina woman, as someone who has lived in France. And I've spent many years studying this role, and every time, you know, I get something new out of it. So I'm very lucky.
Ever prepare for that role, actually?
It takes a lot of preparation, absolutely, because not only is it a very demanding singing role, it's a very demanding acting role.
Indeed.
You know, and it also requires a certain level of dance preparation, and I myself like to play my own castañettes in the second act, and so this also requires some training. But when everything comes together and you have that magic and what the Spanish call duende, which is a certain passion, it's just magical. And to bring that to the Chinese audience was very special for me.
You mentioned just now actually you have that Mexico background. Your mother is from Mexico, and your father actually is from Bulgaria.
Yes.
So you have this international mix of different cultures. How is that influencing your performance?
Well, it's, you know, something that I consider myself very lucky to have this multicultural background, and I'm the first born American in my family. So at the same time of having two different cultures in my background, I'm also